YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and I am back on Total War Rome 2. This time it's going to be a Macedon versus Epirus. I will be playing as Epirus. You can see my opponent's Macedonian army there. It has a large number of skirmishers, and just looks like 3 pikemen. One's his general and a foot companion, 2 thorax swords, and 2 royal peltasts. So he's got no cavalry. And on most maps, this would be a huge problem. But my opponent on this map, which is the mausoleum at Halicarnassus, has some options at his disposal for how to make this maybe potentially a little more effective. I wouldn't recommend it, but he's decided to go with high numbers of skirmishers in an attempt to try and skirmish my men out. And since I brought some pikes, it may give him a chance to use them, because pikes are pretty immobile. So yeah, here's the mausoleum way back here outside the map zone. Unfortunately, we can't zoom up too close on it, but kind of cool. And then my opponent is immediately deploying up here on this ridge line, which is why I'm having a hard time seeing all of his troops, because it obstructs the line of sight to my army, as you can see there. So I can only see his troops that are kind of on the edge of the ridge line. So yeah, I don't know what all he has at this point, and this is kind of a cool terrain feature. I wish they would have stuff like this on more maps, you know, like hills down the center or something like that, where you had to have units in the right spot to scout out what's going on behind it. Of course, you can look for maps all over the Grand Campaign map, but I haven't found too many that have something like this. This is a cool terrain feature. But my opponent's going to use it. He deploys up here by the red line so that his flank will be relatively secure, and so that he can play a defensive battle up here on the high ground. And he has captured it, so I'm going to have to assault him. Well, I guess I don't have to, but I'm certainly not going to sit around until the timer runs out. So I just go ahead and start kind of moving around and probing my opponent's defenses. I have 2 Aspis Cav. I have 4 Levy Pikemen, I believe 2 Royal Peltasts, and no, actually make it 3 Royal Peltasts, and then I think a couple of Citizen Cav. So yeah, 2 Citizen Cav, 2 Aspis Cav, 4 Levy Pikemen, and then I think I have a couple of Javelin Men, 2 of them, and then 3 Mercenary Rhodian Slingers. So my opponent far and away has a skirmishing advantage. He's got multiple units of Javelin Men, good ones too. He's got Mercenary Thracian Peltasts, which have a really good missile attack and decent melee as well. He's got Royal Peltast over here guarding them. And then on this side, he's got a couple of Thorax Swords. And then in the very back, he's rolling up some Mercenary Cretan Archers. Now, I do believe my opponent was new. I didn't quite understand what he'd come to me at, but I think he was relatively new. But to be quite honest, for being a fairly new player, I think he's playing pretty well considering the army that he's chosen. If he would have come out on open ground with no cav like that, it would have been extremely dangerous. However, capturing this terrain and setting his army up defensively will make it a lot easier for him to potentially see success, because in order for him to succeed, he needs to get the missile advantage. Well, I mean, he has the missile advantage. He needs to use it to his favor. And because I brought pikemen and my army's not entirely mobile or aggressive, yeah, I'm going to be in trouble. Now, I could technically assault his pikemen, but it'd be a bad idea because all 3 of his are better than mine. And so even if it was a 4-on-3 engagement, which it would be, he would win. And I've only got 1 Royal Peltast on this flank to try and go after 2 Thorax Swordsmen. And on this flank, he has 2 Royal Peltasts to my 2 Royal Peltast, except his are backed up by Mercenary Thracian Peltast and Mercenary Cretan Archers. So the first things I'm going to do is use my cheap Javelin units to try and move forward. I need to absorb some missile fire from his Cretans. These guys are actually very dangerous to my Rhodians. Now, a long time ago in Rome 2, Rhodians would have absolutely trashed any archers, but that's not the case anymore. Mercenary Cretan Archers are actually pretty deadly to even the elite slinger units. So I use my Javelin Men as a ruse to get closer, and then I can open fire on one of his Mercenary Cretan units, and that's what I throw my Javelins at as well. So my Javelins do what I need them to do, which is absorb a lot of Cretan Archer fire. This one actually routs. But you can see that my masked Rhodian Slinger fire is taking its toll on this unit. You can see all the little rocks rolling down the hill there, where I'm peppering his men. So that Cretan Archer unit is going to get killed eventually. It's nearly dead now. It's down to 57 men. This is the extreme unit settings, yeah, because 160 men per standard unit, 120 in skirmish units, and 80 in cav. So my opponent does effectively have me blocked at the red line, and see he's continuing to do so over here. I actually decided I was going to try and do a diamond and slip through try and slip through this crack, but I didn't quite make it. And so then I decided to just charge these thorax swords, thinking, you know, maybe that'll be an easy victory for my Aspis, and it might be, except for that he has these Peltist here, so this is actually a really bad position for my Aspis Cav. And then over here I was going for his Peltist as well, but kind of get snagged on these thorax swords, but I do get into some of his Peltist. And then over here I'm using my Citizen Cav to get into some of his mercenary Thracians, because he has had to pull back a Royal Peltist to try and take down my Aspis Cav. But this is, I mean, this is a bad engagement for me. I should have pulled out of this immediately, and I haven't. But it is allowing me a gap over here to take advantage of. So you can see my Citizen Cav already wrapping up some of these mercenary Thracians. But those guys, again, they have decent melee and very good missile attack. And I think I actually... No, I didn't lose any more units there. So my Royal Peltist is engaging one of his here, and I have a second one on deck. And I'm going to move up my pikes, and all the while I'm putting pressure on my opponent with my slingers. This is kind of forcing his formation to break up a little. And you can see he has 3 sword units now back here in the back, just to face off with 2 Aspis Cav. So this is going to leave some of this type of stuff open. My cheaper Citizen Cav can now get in here and keep mopping up skirmishers. His foot companions were going to go up here and assist against my Royal Peltist, but now they're forced to turn around and try and deal with my Citizen Cav. But I'll try and keep them out of range of his pikes. So again, now I'm kind of starting to slowly break up his formation. The problem is that he has Royal Peltist here. They've been rallied, and they have the raised banner, and they've used the whip. But that means his guys are going to be tired, and I can now outflank. So, but he's pouring in a lot of Thracian Peltist fire here, which is actually very deadly to my men. You can see it's definitely taking a toll. So I really need to get rid of his Thracian Peltist. Like right here, I'm kind of slow. This should have been a charge, and there it goes. He does move up one of his pikemen to take mine. It's not really an engagement I want, because his pikemen are superior, and I don't completely have the rest of his stuff wrapped up at this point. And I need to deal with his foot companion, which is going to be difficult. I can't take it from the front with a sword unit, nor with a pike unit. He sends his pikemen up here, and his pikemen will actually win this fight, I think, pretty handily, as soon as they get into the right position. Yeah, now you can see my men dropping. Plus, he's still continuing to get Peltist fire on this unit of pikemen here, so I'm going to have to keep focusing my Rhodians. For a moment I was focused on his general, but then I'll probably change my target, because his general's retreating. Citizen Cavs back here still causing trouble. You can see just keeping his skirmishers, trying to keep them out of the fight at least. He spent a lot of money on them, and I need to keep these guys pinned down. And as long as his swords are busy back here too, we should be good. Yeah, again, so see how I've got all these units back here busy? Just because of my 2 Cav units. And again, I'm going to try and slip through the flank with this Aspis Cav. My opponent is paying attention. And here I'm going to run away from his pikes with my Royal Peltist. This is not an engagement that I want. And he has got a whole bunch of mercenary Cretan archer fire going on my general right now. I actually let him get his pikes down. I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention after I did that initial retreat. And so I have to continue to retreat, which is going to get my men shot in the back. And right now I think my... I can't remember if I have my slingers focusing on a target. Yeah, they're shooting at this pikeman right now. I think they were, at least. Yeah, looks like they're shooting at this pikeman. And he forgot to give it another attack order. These pikemen here aren't really doing... Actually, they're not doing as good as I thought. It's probably because of their awkward angle. They're not getting more of their pikes engaged. I'm getting more of mine engaged. See that? His guys are at kind of a weird angle going off this way, rather than being lined up straight with my pikes. And in that case, I think he would have won. So my Royal Peltist have busted through over here, and he's got 2 Thorax swords and a Royal Peltist of his own in the vicinity. My Cav is now pinned against the red line, and it's about to be backed up by foot companions, which is very bad. So I'm going to have to bring in some of my own pikemen to try and undo this. But at least my Royal Peltist should have a pretty good chance to operate here. His Royal Peltist are engaged frontally with my Aspis, and I can charge in from behind. So this will help me at least hopefully get rid of his Royal Peltist quicker. You can see he's losing quite a few men in it. And then this Royal Peltist is into the back of a Thorax sword because of this Citizen Cav. And I did get his general's attention, but as soon as his general turns to face my pikemen again, I'm going to retreat and try and outflank. There's no way that I can pretend to destroy this foot companion with my levy pikemen. They're just more of attention seekers right now, just trying to keep the attention of the enemy foot companion. I don't want it helping in this fight. This fight should eventually sway into my favor. It's going to be close, but I think it'll sway into my favor. I just routed one of his Royal Peltist, so now it's just down to his 2 Thorax Swordsmen against my Royal Peltist. And if you look here again, his general is getting surrounded. Yeah, so I've got him completely surrounded with Levy Pikemen. He could probably still kill a couple of them before mine killed him, but at least this gives me an opportunity to get his general totally surrounded. Right here where they were positioning, I actually got a couple of kills. Now my slingers are up on the hill with a good position, and his men are completely pike sandwiched. So his pikemen are trying to get their sarissas down and engage this unit here, but they're just in a funky formation. Yeah, and you'll see how I have them completely surrounded. You can see in the background my Aspis Cav and Royal Peltist wrapping up that fight. And it's at this point when my opponent's resistance is effectively broken. Well, I say at this point, it was broken a few minutes ago, but I actually thought it was pretty smart of him to set up this defensive position. It made the battle much more difficult for me than it would have been on open ground. So I actually have to give him kudos for using the terrain in such a way to maximize the potential of his army. I think that he made a mistake here that I've made myself several times, because I keep trying to bring like skirmish heavy armies sometimes. It's just really hard to do. It's extremely difficult to protect more than like 4 skirmishers in Rome 2, just because melee cavalry is so good at getting to them. So it actually makes your task very difficult. Here's my Royal Peltist running down some of his pikemen. Yeah, so it's just very difficult to protect more than like 4 skirmishers, and I think that that's the main reason he had a hard time here. If he would have cut back like to just the 4 mercenary Cretan archers and then just had brought more infantry and done the same thing, it would have been really difficult for me to try and break that defense that he had up there. Extremely difficult, actually. So, and especially if he had been using all his swords up front and kept like some cheaper Thurio spear units in the back or something, that would have been pretty potentially dangerous to me, because otherwise, you know, I couldn't take his pikes head on. His 4 Cretan archers would have destroyed my 3 Rhodian slingers if used properly. So, I mean, there's a lot of scenarios there that I think that if he would have cut down on the 2 Peltist and the 3 Thracian Peltist and then just brought more infantry, that would have been an even more difficult fight for me, I think. But yeah, overall, good game to my opponent. Hope you all enjoyed it. It's actually just seems like it's been a while since I've played a real defensive match, so I actually kind of enjoyed that one, even though I know some of you will say, I was red line camping, he was hill camping. It's not a big deal. I actually played this guy again, and he didn't run all the way to the corner, but basically got in the corner and tried another defensive army, and it was actually kind of a fun kill. I killed it with the Arverni, but I accidentally saved over it. So unfortunately I won't get to show you that one, because honestly I don't fight a whole lot of defensive, or I guess against real defensive players in Rome 2 most of the time. It seems like most people are aggressive in Rome 2. At least that's what I run into. Maybe you all get something different. But HeirofCarthage signing off for now.